All right, so let's run our tests. Still green. And now we can kick off the pipeline again. Okay, this looks much more promising. So we first got our 3 candidates. And then we have a successful deep dive with a suggested startup name, Agent Passport. So this must be based on the winning candidate. So the meta trend, identity and trust for the AI workforce, right? And then the value prop for Agent Passport. Agent Passport is an API-first platform that provides cryptographic, verifiable identities for AI agents. Enterprises pay for it to securely manage, audit, and control their entire AI workforce, preventing unauthorized actions and ensuring compliance in a world where AI agents operate autonomously. I think that sounds very promising. So it's good to see that our fixes and workarounds did the trick. Let's actually pull this up in the database and look at some more fields here in the business model. So we had the value proposition already. Here's our unfair advantage, aka moat. Okay, so high switching costs and network effects. Okay. A network effect emerges as more third-party tools and platforms begin to trust and require an agent passport identity for secure interaction, making it the de facto standard for inter-agent communication and authorization. Feels a little optimistic, to be honest, that agent passport would quickly become this de facto standard. But I appreciate the ambition and the optimism here. Let's look at the revenue streams. Okay, so we have a list of revenue streams. So there's a free tier for developers and hobbyists, includes up to 10 active agent identities and 10,000 API calls per month. Seems reasonable. Pro tier, $199 per month, includes up to 250 active agent identities, advanced policy controls, and 1 million API calls per month. And then finally, an enterprise tier with custom pricing for large-scale deployments. And an SLA. Yeah, I think that looks very solid, actually. The go-to-market strategy. Okay, so our first one here, it's using open source as a wedge, right? So target open source agent frameworks, create and promote an SDK for popular frameworks like LangChain, CrewAI, and NVIDIA's upcoming NemoClaw. Post tutorials in their Discord communities and on their forums showing how to secure an agent with a verifiable identity in under 10 minutes. I like that. And then next, so we have Hacker News as a strategy, right? Show HN, launch, prepare a detailed launch post for Hacker News, Show HN section. The post should include a clear demo, a link to the technical documentation, and a compelling explanation of why traditional IAM fails for AI agents. Engage actively in the comments to answer technical questions. I think that's a good strategy. Speaking from experience, I found it pretty difficult, to be honest, to break into Hacker News. It's very hit and miss, right? You have such a short window of opportunity to be seen and upvoted and get some engagement. But I think it's good to have it as part of your go-to-market repertoire for sure. And then partnering with a vector database provider, co-author a technical blog post or webinar. I think that's actually really promising. So overall, I think it's worked out a pretty good go-to-market strategy here. Quickly look at the known competitors. Okay, so Okta /Auth0. These are the leaders in human-centric identity and access management, IAM. Okay. Then we have cloud provider IAM, for example, AWS IAM, Google Cloud IAM. All right. And then it talks about how Agent Passport sort of sets itself apart, right? So it's cloud agnostic, providing a universal portable identity that works across any environment, AWS, GCP, and so on. And then we have homegrown solutions using API keys and JWTs. So yeah, this seems like a pretty thorough analysis of the competitive landscape. Finally, we have the tech stack. And again, this is mainly meant as a tech stack for an MVP. So that doesn't have to be the final solution as the business scales up, but I still find it useful to have some recommendation here. So as a backend, it's suggesting fast API, Python for its speed and strong async support, ideal for a high throughput API. As a database, managed PostgreSQL. That's what I'm using as well for Gamma Vibe in production. Hosting, API hosted on Render or Fly.io for simple scalable deployment. And then for the front end, it's suggesting Next.js hosted on Vercel, Identity Core, use standard libraries like PyJWT for issuing and verifying JSON Web Tokens as the cryptographic passports. That all looks very plausible. So I think that's a pretty solid recommendation. Okay, great. I think it came up with a solid business model here. So we'll go ahead and commit this. Implemented deep dive step. All right, so with that, we're done with the deep dive step, and that completes the whole ideation phase as well. So next, we're going to look at the production phase. So that's where we write the actual newsletter and create a header image for it. And actually, I kind of like that we bumped into some roadblocks here along the way, right? That's all part of agentic engineering. So I find that usually asking Claude to debug things based on the log output is quite helpful. As you see, it's fully capable of running database queries and things like that as needed. But at the same time, you do need to use your own judgment, right? So if we had accepted Claude's initial suggestion of capping the insights at 75, then we likely would have gotten pretty inferior startup ideas in the synthesis step going forward. So that I don't think that would have resulted in a very strong pipeline. So you do always need to do your own detective work, follow your own hunches, right? If in doubt, looking at the logs in Google AI Studio is quite helpful as well. So you got to, or in the database, right? Seeing what we're actually passing in as inputs. So that's how we were able to see that we're passing in way too much data in these article insights. And that ultimately pushed us to the workaround that ended up working fine. So judgment continues to be really important when doing agentic engineering like this. Anyway, see you in the next video.